Hi, and welcome to Assignment 13, Reviewing the Literacy Standards for History Social Science. In this assignment, you will become acquainted with the literacy standards for history social science and also have the opportunity to think about and discuss the connections between these Common Core state standards and your current curriculum and instruction. So let's get started. The first thing that you're going to need to do is download a copy of the literacy standards. They're embedded into the ELA document, so what you'll want to do is start on page 36. Also, it's important to keep in mind that the literacy standards are connected to grades 6 through 12, not K through 5. So if you're a K-5 teacher, it's the literacy expectations for content areas are just embedded into ELA. They don't get separately extracted until grades 6-12. So go ahead and download this document, have that ready. You might also want to download the note sheet and have that ready as well. You can download this document, it is a Word document. You can print a copy of it to handwrite into it, or you can type directly into the document, whatever is easier for you. If you are using a tablet device like an iPad, you will not be able to type into the note sheet, nor will you be able to print it. So you might want to have some paper to kind of take some notes as you look at the standards. All right, let's get started looking at the standards. The first thing that I've done is that I have the standards available, and the reading standards for history social studies are on page 36. The writing standards for history social studies are on page 38. So when you are done looking at the reading standards, to skip to writing, you just go to page 38 and you can take a look at what the expectations are for writing. For right now, though, we're just going to look at reading. Of course, when you're on your own, you'll probably want to take a look at both. And we also need to have our note sheet up. And you'll notice it's a 2-column note sheet, and the purpose behind the assignment is to look at the Common Core literacy standards and just make some observations about them. And then in the second column, you're going to have an opportunity to make some connections to your own classroom. So the first thing that I'm noticing as I look at these standards is that I'm noticing that they are organized in the same way as language arts are organized. In fact, all of these standards even align with the same standards in language arts. They just have a history social science spin on them. So I made sure to write that down in my observations about the Common Core. As I read the standards, I'm noticing that they're connected to the specific kinds of reading students would need to know in that discipline. For example, I notice here in grades 9-10, the standard says, determine the central ideas or information of a primary or secondary source. Provide an accurate summary of how key events or ideas develop over the course of a text. So certainly primary and secondary sources are important in history and social science, and it's important for students to be able to read both kinds of text. So that's something that's very discipline specific that's connected to these literacy standards. So I also wrote that down on my note sheet. I'm thinking it also includes the skills of a historian in this particular standard. For example, one of the things that it asks us to do is to attend to features of a document such as date and origin. It also talks about identifying key steps in a text description of a process related to history, social science, looking at visual information like charts, graphs, maps. Those are all really specific skills that are attached to the discipline of history social science. When I have an opportunity to think about how this connects to my content, I'm thinking as a teacher I might need to think about ways to include more primary source documents in my curriculum, or if that's something that I'm not already doing. Or maybe I'm thinking about adding a variety of secondary sources that show different perspectives, perhaps excerpts of textbooks from different time periods or different countries. That might be an interesting way to also help students read and understand different documents and identify biases. I might also need to explicitly teach my students how to look for historical bias in different sources. So I might need to show them how to pay attention to what isn't included as much as I show them how to pay attention to what is included. So really thinking about those skills as a historian and making sure that as a teacher I'm modeling for my students how to do that. So those might be some connections to not only my curriculum but also my instruction. As you have an opportunity to explore the reading standards for literacy and history social studies, for reading and for writing, you might want to think about lots of different ways that that connects to your curriculum and instruction, and also make some observations. We hope this is valuable for you and that you are able to really think about how these Common Core standards will affect your practice.